Mic is on. Mic is on. Hello, hello, hello. Good night, everybody, and welcome once again to another Lime Vibe Live podcast. An early edition of the Lime Vibe Live podcast. We normally start at 8:30, but the time has changed, and so we moved it to 7:30. But I pushed it to 7 o'clock because it's really dark now. It feels like it's the dead of night out there. After the time change happened 2 weeks ago, so we're going to start these shows a bit earlier now during the time change, during daylight savings hour. So I just want to thank you again for joining me for another Lime Vibe Live podcast. If you have not done so, please like, share, and subscribe to our Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch page. That's Lime Vibe 77. That's Lime Vibe and the number 77 at Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch. And please share with all your friends. And drop a comment if you want to as well, too. We'd like to hear your feedback. So let's start the show off tonight. We got a pretty solid show tonight. Pretty solid show. A lot of things happened over the last 2 weeks. First of all, I want to apologize for not being here last week. I had an event, a family event I had to go to last week, Friday. And I had to go to that. It could not be missed. So I apologize for not being here last Friday, but thank you for joining me again for this Friday. I have another event tonight too, actually. I have a banquet tonight. I may or may not go. I'm not sure I'm going to go. I may or may not go. But anyway, I started early in the event. I changed my mind. I said I'm going to go and check it out. But anyway, I thank you for joining me from the Lime Vibe Live podcast tonight. So let's get started off with the show, huh? So Tropical Storm Sara has swept through Belize and Guatemala and Honduras, leaving one dead in Honduras, dropping inches of rain all over the Central American region. Sara is the last named tropical storm of this hurricane season so far. It ends on November 30th. That's next week, Saturday. So hopefully we get no other storm disturbances. This is the last. Sara's the last of them. And so we hope that this is just it. So we just want to pray for the families that are affected by Tropical Storm Sara in the Central American region, Guatemala, Honduras, and Belize in particular, because they suffered the most damage. It said rainfall totals nearly 40 inches in some areas. Okay, with mudslides throughout last weekend. Sara hit land about 105 miles on the west-northwest of the Cabo Gracias a Dios in the Honduras-Nicaragua border on November 15th, according to the U.S. National Hurricane Center in Miami. So, yeah, like I said, one person died in Honduras. I just want to say my condolences to the family. And please watch out because we got one more week left. One more week left. It ends next week, Saturday. So, I was saying on my magazine, Caribbean Magazine Plus, that it could have been a lot worse than this. The hurricane season could have been a lot worse than this. We got off pretty easy. We could have had Hurricane Category 5 hurricanes throughout the season. We didn't. We had a few storms that made landfall and damaged a few places and killed a few people, but it wasn't as bad as what people thought it was, you know. It could have been a lot worse. And I just want to thank God we didn't have a seriously devastating hurricane hit the Bahamas or any other way in the Caribbean. Yes, we had Beryl in Grenada and Jamaica and Cuba. And yes, Cuba was hit hard as well too, with another hurricane early on. But they made it through. And it wasn't the massive devastation that we had with Irma and Dorian, 2019 and 2018 respectively. So it could have been that we had left Antigua and Barbuda and Dominica devastated on their last leg. And it could have left Abaco and Grand Bahama absolutely devastated with Dorian in 2019. So I just want to thank you guys for staying safe and making it through. If you came up the other side of this hurricane season, God has blessed you. He blessed you another day to live here on this wonderful green earth He has. Yes, we're destroying it. Yes, we're destroying it with all these carbon emissions. But hopefully we'll find a solution. We start to roll back some of the climate damage that we've done to this island, to this earth. Okay? Another story. The Economic Commission for Latin America and the Caribbean said that in their Social Panorama 2024 that the development crisis is interwoven in poverty and vulnerability in Latin America and the Caribbean. The report said that there are three development traps in particular, namely low capacity for growth, high inequality in social mobility and cohesion, and low institutional capacity and ineffective governance. Okay, those are the three development traps. So essentially they're saying our country sucks. We can't grow our economies. Alright. There's a lot of inequality. A lot of, the haves and the have-nots. A minority of the haves and a majority of the have-nots. and the inequality just keeps growing. And then we have ineffective governance, which of course is a byproduct of the haves and the have-nots. Of course, they want to consolidate all their power within themselves. And so these are the development traps here in the Latin American and Caribbean region. And the ECOWAC, the UN, United Nations Latin American Commission for Economic, the Economic Commission for Latin America and the Caribbean, ECOWAC, said in their social panorama that these are the issues. ECOWAC elaborated further that this development crisis is interwoven with a host of obstacles to inclusive development in the region. These include deeply rooted poverty and vulnerability to it, structural, unjust, and inefficient inequalities, gaps in human capacity development in education, health, and nutrition, and in access to basic services, deficits in decent work, and uncertainties linked to technological changes in the world of work. Still partial and unequal access to social protection, a social institutional framework under construction, and insufficient social investment. So essentially, they're saying that we're destroying our own countries by underinvesting in our people, man, and treating our people like dirt. That's a common theme around the Caribbean and Latin American region, that we just have not let democracy sink into our societies the way it's supposed to. Okay? And that's a common theme around the Caribbean and Latin American region. These guys get in power, and they were once nobodies before they got in power, and all of a sudden they have all this power in their hands, and they don't know how to wield it. And so they become disgusting degenerates, for lack of a better term, right? And no country is immune to this. No country in the region is immune to this. We have not built up the democratic institutions as yet, the way the United States and the way Britain has, and the way some European countries have, to actually monitor all of these abuses. And we need to have a better understanding and a better appreciation for the human being. Like, it seems like we don't have any respect for our human brothers and sisters, man. It seems as if, like, only our needs come first, and everybody else could just go to hell. Anyway, that's I don't want to get on a rant, but that's how it is, man. So we need to build our capacity to love our brothers and sisters, I believe. There was I don't know if you guys saw this report. There was a U.S. report that said that, another story, said that 73% of the guns trafficked into the Caribbean between 2018 and 2022 were from the United States. That's not a big shocker. The Government Accountability Office, the GAO office in the United States, said in their firearms report that the majority of recovered firearms in the Caribbean were traced to the United States and trafficked through various means. Okay, they further went on to say the Department of Justice Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, the ATF, traces the origin of firearms recovered in the Caribbean countries at the request of Caribbean law enforcement agencies or ATF officials in the Caribbean. While the political will and capacity of each country impacts the number of recovered firearms each country submits for tracing, ATF processed 7,399 traces of firearms recovered in crimes in the Caribbean from 2018 to 2022. Okay, so that means we don't make guns in the Caribbean. The Caribbean does not make guns. Okay, we have to import them from the United States, and they're the biggest gun manufacturer in the world. They're the biggest arms dealers in the world. Why would we go all the way to Israel or France to get firearms? Then the United States is right there. Plus, they believe in their Second Amendment rights, and they believe that it's not just for Americans. They believe everybody should be armed to the tooth, and it's become a devastating impact on the Caribbean. Okay, this has a devastating effect on the Caribbean, because we have not put in control this drug trafficking culture that we have in the Caribbean. And they go both hand in hand. Drug trafficking and guns and firearms, they go hand in hand. And while we're blaming the United States for selling us arms, we need to think very clearly and very carefully about the drug trafficking we've allowed to happen throughout the Caribbean. And that's been fueling some of the violence, most of the violence, I would say. And so while it's fair to blame the United States for giving us guns, the fact of the matter is we've been trafficking in drugs, and we need the guns to protect the drugs. And so that's how the guns are getting into the Caribbean. That's why the guns are getting into the Caribbean, because we want to protect the drug trafficking trade. Both are illegal, but then, like I said, we can't really blame the United States if we're not willing to look inside of us and see that we're at fault for most of this stuff as well. We're at the root of this. Yeah, that's where it is. It's another story. The Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, the OECD, said in its Tobacco Taxation in Latin America and the Caribbean report that tax reform is needed in the LAC on tobacco and urged for reforms that align with best practices globally. Essentially, they're calling for more excise taxes on tobacco. They see it as a health risk. And I don't know when since the OECD has gone from being a global regulatory body, a monitoring body, I should say, to now, imposing what we feel should happen with taxation on vices. I think they're overstepping their boundaries, man. So our tobacco laws have nothing to do with the OECD's tax mandate and their mandate to monitor, taxation within their own region and their multinational corporations that are tax evading in the Caribbean and Latin American area. That has nothing. Our tobacco laws has nothing to do with that. So yes, we welcome their report and their findings, but however, mind your own God blessed business. Nothing to do with you. The OECD also said tobacco excise taxes have the potential to raise significant revenues. Revenues from indirect taxes on tobacco range from 0.01% in Barbados to 2.58% in Chile of total tax revenue. Tobacco excise taxes raise 0.5% of total tax revenue in LAC on average, which is about 1/3 of average annual smoking attributable to medical costs. So yes, like I say, some of these reports are appreciated because they tell you exactly how serious the health crisis is with tobacco, and I'm not negating that. However, they need to stay in their lane and watch how they're telling us how we need to monitor tobacco and illicit vices regimes. Yes, we understand the health crisis. Yes, that's fair. We appreciate that. But you're getting kind of snooty by telling us what we should do and how we should raise taxes and how you feel we should be doing this. Yeah, I believe this is overstep anyway. This is overreach. No one asked you this. The hell with you. Nobody asked you any of this. So he has felt that you needed to tell us this. The report also said, actually, the average tobacco excise tax collected per pack of legal cigarettes sold increased from USD 1.2 to 2.0, expressed in purchasing power parity between 2008 and 2016 due to significant increases in the tobacco tax rates. However, the tax ratio has increased only slightly since then, reflecting the absence of ambitious tobacco tax reforms in recent years. They always overreaching, man. They're always going above and beyond what their mandate is, and that's the OECD for them. Ever since we've allowed them to get involved in our tax regime and our offshore jurisdictions and our offshore centers, they've been constantly just seeping into our consciousness, and it's intentional. It's intentional. It's that slow creep into your mind that there's some kind of world superpower, they're some kind of world boss. And United States just let it go on unchecked. The United States just let Europe just keep on creeping up with these snide little reports and this snide language, and we just eat it up. The next thing they be telling us how we should be importing cigarettes and tobacco. That would be next, actually. That would be next. So pay attention to that, man. These world organizations, these supranational organizations, they're really out of their realm, man. They're really above and beyond what their mandate should be. Last story for the night. I guess you guys have been watching Matt Gaetz. He withdrew the United States, Donald Trump's actually first pick for Attorney General, Matt Gaetz, the Florida representative, Matt Gaetz. He's withdrawn from the contention of the Attorney General, and Donald Trump has selected Pat Bondi, the former Florida Attorney General, to be his replacement. Donald Trump has picked a lot of crazy guys, crazy people for his first cabinet. He selected Pete Hegseth, a former Fox News contributor, to be his U.S. Secretary of Defense. Donald Trump is treating the government like a joke, man. Anyway, let's watch what MSNBC has to say about Matt Gaetz. Let's watch this now.
Let's go right to NBC's Vaughn Hilliard. Vaughn, what has happened here?
Andrea, this was in a social media post just moments ago. I'm just going to read it directly to you from Matt Gaetz, who of course was up on Capitol Hill yesterday meeting with senators toured around by J.D. Vance. This is from Matt Gaetz. Quote, "I had excellent meetings with senators yesterday. I appreciate their thoughtful feedback and the incredible support of so many. While the momentum was strong, it is clear that my confirmation was unfairly becoming a distraction to the critical work of the Trump-Vance transition. There is no time to waste on a needlessly protracted Washington scuffle. Thus, I'll be withdrawing my name from consideration to serve as Attorney General. Trump's DOJ must be in place and ready on day one. I remain fully committed to see that Donald J. Trump is the most successful president in history. I will forever be honored that President Trump nominated me to lead the Department of Justice, and I'm certain he will save America." Matt Gaetz, 8 days, Andrea, after being nominated, his name being put into the fold for Attorney General of the United States, is dropping out. This all while there was debate within the House Ethics Committee over whether to release the ethics report looking into the allegations that he had had sexual interactions with a minor dating back several years ago. Ultimately, yesterday, the House Ethics Committee was at a standstill, choosing not to release the report at this time, but we know that senators, including some Republicans, were interested in having the details of the underlying allegations and evidence that was in the hands of the House Ethics Committee. Of course, Matt Gaetz turned heads when Donald Trump first picked him. They were on their way from Washington, D.C., aboard Trump's plane back here to Mar-a-Lago 8 days ago when the decision was made by Donald Trump in flight to nominate Gaetz in a surprising fashion to lead the Department of Justice. Of course, these were all allegations that the Department of Justice had looked into. People like Speaker Kevin McCarthy had publicly stated just this year that he thought that Matt Gaetz would eventually be in jail because of the underlying evidence that was in the hands of House ethics members. But now, you fast forward here, I think that this is really the first time in which you see Donald Trump, who made the case that he learned a lot from his first administration and wanted to surround himself by loyal cabinet members, it came to a roadblock up on Capitol Hill. It was going to take just 4 Republican senators to block his confirmation, and there was hesitancy among many of them about not only the underlying allegations against him, but also the way in which he would potentially use and wield the powers of the Department of Justice. He had promised to root out what he called the deep state, and there was concern about political prosecutions, that he would go and not only remove individuals from within Department of Justice career prosecutors, but also tried to go and investigate and convene grand juries to bring indictments against perceived enemies of Donald Trump. But now we're at the point where Matt Gaetz has removed himself here from this confirmation process.
And you know, some Matt Gaetz is a bad pick. I don't see how Trump didn't understand that those allegations about that sexual affair with a minor was not going to surface. I mean, that is just naivety on the part of the Trump team. You know, you just can't gloss over something like that when you're thinking of appointing someone at such a high post. And then, you know, Matt Gaetz did not represent himself to be some kind of hotshot lawyer. In any event, you could have found somebody a lot better than that. All right, and that was just naivety on the part of the Donald Trump administration. And so Matt Gaetz has withdrawn his nomination to be the Attorney General, and that's good for the Trump team. Let's get it off on the right foot, all right? But, you know, like I said, man, they should have thought about that a bit more. This lady, Pam Bondi, let's see, Pam Bondi. I don't have any bio on her. Pam Bondi. Yeah, Pam Bondi. She's a former Florida Attorney General, and she's a lobbyist and politician. She served as the Attorney General from 2011 to 2019, and so she's fresh out of, you know, serving in public office. And so, yeah, that's really who she is. And let's wish her all the best. She's a beautiful blonde bombshell, you know. Plus, she's very intelligent, and she's from Florida. I think Trump likes that she's from Florida because that's where Trump's Mar-a-Lago is. And so, yeah, let's wish the Trump administration all the best. All right. And like I said, some of the other picks like Mike Hegseth, former Fox News contributor to be the Secretary of Defense. That's a bit screwy, you know. You may want to get someone a bit more seasoned there, like a general, you know. But then again, Donald Trump may want outsiders. He may want outsiders around him who thinks just as mavericky as he does, and not wanting anyone from the establishment, someone totally set apart from the deep state. And that could be very well be the case. All right, now I understand what Trump's trying to do, but you got to pick a better selection of people than this, man. You know, a guy from Fox News being your Secretary of Defense, that doesn't seem, you know, that doesn't lend to security. Okay, you're gonna find somebody else, man. That's my take on it. Another story as well too. Apparently Diddy's hearing is up for next week. I don't have any video on that, but Diddy is going to his bail hearing. Judge rule on Diddy Combs' bail hearing next week. Apparently it's going to be next week, Wednesday. They're going to decide whether they're going to release him. Okay? And so the judge is holding a hearing today, actually, right now, on whether or not they're going to give him bail. And they're all likelihood that Sean Diddy Combs is going to remain in jail. No one's going to give him bail for what he did. And that's just how it is. You know, he got himself involved in these freak-offs. You know, I can't think about anything else when I think about Sean Combs other than freak-offs. His name was being totally smeared and smattered all over the place, man. I can't think of Sean Diddy Combs anywhere else other than this smut in his sleeves. Freak-offs. How disgusting. But in any event, you know, that's Sean Diddy Combs' life. I doubt he's going to get out. All right, I doubt Sean Combs is going to get out. They're going to keep him in jail until next year, May, when his trial comes up, and they're going to keep him right there inside jail. No question about it. They're not going to let him go. They're going to make an example out of him because he does have the power and the money to intimidate witnesses, and he has shown that he has the will and the inclination to intimidate witnesses and bribe people. He showed that. I mean, I'm just saying how it is. You know, he's shown that he has the capacity to be that way. And yeah, let's start right back from the top of the show, huh? We talked about Tropical Storm Star, how it blasted through Central America, Belize, and Guatemala and Honduras in particular. It was only a tropical storm, and we thank God it wasn't a Category 1 or 2 hurricane at the very least. And it's just a tropical storm, but it left a lot of rainwater, left a lot of flooding and mudslides, and also left one person dead in Honduras. So we want to pray for the families in Honduras who are affected severely by Tropical Storm Sara. Then we also said the ECLAC, the Economic Commission for Latin America and the Caribbean, said in their social panorama that poverty and vulnerability are interwoven into the development traps in the region. Okay, it seems like they said the same thing in their fiscal panorama as well. You know, that these development traps, namely low capacity for growth, high inequality and low social mobility and cohesion, and low institutional capacity and ineffective governance, you know, they seem to be a part and parcel of why these economies are dragging behind, why these countries are not, you know, getting above the development trap and meeting their sustainable development goals. And so, yeah, so the other story was, there was a report that 73% of the guns trafficked in the Caribbean between 2018 and 2022 were from the United States. That's 73% of them. I can't see where else they could come from, actually. Why would they come from somewhere else? This report is from the Government Accountability Office, the GAO, in the United States. It said that the majority of them that they have tracked through the ATF, that's the Department of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives in the United States, said that they've tracked all these guns from 2018 to 2022 and said that most of them come from the United States. Okay. Then we also had the OECD, the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, saying that, you know, tobacco taxations need to be more. We need to have more taxation on tobacco. We need to reform taxation system on tobacco. And like I said, there's a bit of overreach by them, I think. They're getting too much into our personal business, into our administrative business, and they should just mind their own bloody business, I believe. But I guess that's them. They have a right to make their own studies. Okay, but at the same time as well, they're overreaching. They're not a government. They don't tell us what to do. And the last story we had was Matt Gaetz withdrawing as the Attorney General in the United States. So Trump's cabinet picks are coming off. He's got off the bit of a rocky start. I mean, but you could have seen the Matt Gaetz thing coming from a mile away. Then we had the ladies on The View talking about Matt Gaetz. Sunny Hostin was just saying that Matt Gaetz was he was involved in a sexual scandal with a 17-year-old. And she was forced to actually read the disclaimer saying that Matt Gaetz was cleared from all of those allegations. And it wasn't true. And so, but she had to read that. I should have had that video for you guys as well. That's been trending as well. The View's video with Sunny Hostin saying that she had to read this legal disclaimer about Matt Gaetz after she bashed Matt Gaetz about him being involved in a rape scandal with a 17-year-old child. But he's withdrawn now. Pam Bondi is now Trump's pick for Attorney General of the United States. I think she's going to make a good pick. She's a former Attorney General of Florida. She's a blonde bombshell. And she's a very intelligent woman. And I think that's a better pick for Donald Trump in any event. Okay? So that's our show for tonight, ladies and gentlemen. If you have not done so, please like, share, and subscribe to our Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch page. That's Lion Vibe 77. That's Lion Vibe 77 on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. And please drop a comment, leave a like, drop a comment, and tell us how you feel about our show. We'll definitely be back here again next week Friday. I think we're going to cut it off for the Christmas holiday. We're going to have 2 more shows before we cut it off altogether. So we're going to have next week Friday and the following Friday after that. Then we're going to cut it off for the end of the year. We're going to go into our Christmas celebrations, my friend. So I thank you once again for joining us for another Lion Vibe Live podcast. I'll see you again next week Friday with another show. Let's get out of here, ladies and gentlemen.